it's already there. They are the default low care. I think any prudent operator already has a care offering, whether it's in-house or whether they partner up with someone. It's an expectation of people coming in. You know, if it's not the residents themselves, it's their families who want to know when their parents require care, that it's either available already or it can be available in the future. So purely from a sales point of view, if you're looking about, you want to be able to say, you know, we've got this, because if your parents are coming in at 77 and they're going to be here till 87, they might need it. So we're equipped for it, and we've got a way to help your parents through that journey.
Yes, they are. Yeah, I think retirement villages, with the caveat that we need to make sure there's good food on site. So there needs to be great, community with great food and great care services around there. It doesn't have to be done by the provider themselves, but typically it's better if it is. And I think, anywhere where we have community models where people are at the centre of it, and we reduce the issues around loneliness, mental health, inactivity, we need to make sure we build communities where people can live active and really great lives.
I think so. The more retirement living operators I speak to, you're seeing them, starting to have to question, well, are we delivering care? The average age, getting higher, all of these things. So I think we're looking at, the old hostel model is now starting to form into these retirement villages. And we have conversations with our residents in the land lease communities around, well, what does that look like in the future? They're staying, sometimes for longer tenures than what they would in a retirement village. So, we're seeing all of those accommodation sectors sort of shift more into, different forms of low care in some way, shape or form, and even in some instances higher levels of care as well.
The short answer is yes. So we're seeing residents moving into communities later with increased acuity. We're also seeing pressure across the residential aged care system in terms of occupancy. And to that end, you're seeing an increased requirement for retirement living to provide care services. Now that might be providing direct care within their proposition, or it might be partnering with providers in the community to deliver that care, but it certainly is a need for the community and it's certainly a growing need across the resident base.
Look, it's an interesting question, and I think retirement villages over the last few decades have traditionally been more lifestyle, and I think there is absolutely still a need, and we look at some of the more premium offerings. The lifestyle offering and the community offering is still massively appealing, and I think people pay for that, absolutely. I think the care need, the average age in retirement villages is absolutely increasing, and people have more of an expectation that there will be some sort of care, and I think some of the better models are absolutely providing an exceptional level of care into their villages, whether it's low-level care. Some villages these days are absolutely offering through to end-of-life and palliative care, but absolutely I think aged care is becoming more high care, and I think retirement villages should absolutely take the opportunity to fill that void and provide that low level of care and keep people in their home for a lot longer, absolutely.
Definitely, yeah, and as it should be. I think we have a moral obligation to take care of both our residents and our staff, and I think you need to be able to provide care in a way that it's qualified to the residents, but also to take that burden off the staff. You don't want your staff to be someone who has to give care because you don't have the appropriate structures in place to do that. And that means you've got to set yourself up to do that. And as a result, all the prudent operators out there are offering it. So it is an expectation, as it should be.
From my perspective, yes, I think if you are a retirement village operator, having a care service there is important. It doesn't matter if it starts with the call pendant in the room, or something where people need to just reach out, and it could be triaged. But I think, the better providers will always provide, great care services to their community, because people matter, and we've got to make sure there's a coordinated approach to care in all communities.
It's an interesting one because sometimes when people move in, it's not an expectation, but then, an event happens, or as people age, there is certainly that expectation that there is something there that they're going to be able to access. Often it's people don't want to come face to face with that reality when they're moving in, particularly younger, into a land lease community. But as you see that age, demographic shift, and as people say there, it's absolutely being seen as, well, what do I do now? It's such a difficult system to navigate. And I think if anything, people are just looking for help and support support and direction around how to navigate the bureaucratic spaghetti of aged care in general. So I would say yes, definitely an expectation, some for more so than others, but it's certainly happening.
I think if you speak to operators and you speak to families and you speak to residents, I think more and more so, there's an expectation that the community is going to provide a proposition which allows you to age in place and live within that community. And as we've spoken about earlier, there's an increasing requirement for care to be part of that proposition.
I think retirement is moving into a higher age demographic, and absolutely, I think the expectation is there that if you are going to be in that, and particularly the models that provide end-of-life care, people have an expectation that they can stay in their home. Even more generally, retirement villages can't fill the full void of aged care, particularly if you think of things around dementia. If you need to be in a secure unit, if you need 24/7 care at a high level, that's not necessarily the market, but absolutely, I think in some form or another, retirees are expecting that there will be that level of care, particularly if you look at couples that move into a retirement village and one may need care whereas the other doesn't. It certainly suits that both can still stay in that village and get the care that they need without having to move one partner out into a different home or a different setting.